in a different room of the house someday. Hello, everyone. So, I think it might have been maybe 10 days or so, maybe 2 weeks ago. Um, Maybe a little less than that. I asked if you folks wanted me to do another Q&A. And to my surprise, that was a pretty solid yes. Only got a few questions, but that's okay, because whenever I do a Q&A, I always do a live video. So if you didn't think of anything before, you can just pop on in and come in with a question, and I'll just read it live on air until I'm not live anymore. That's how it works. um, so I would request questions about Sailor Moon. Sorry about the backwards cam. Um, Questions about my websites, my books, definitely questions about dolls. Um, Maybe a little Hello Kitty, maybe. But it's up to you, whatever your questions are about, and I'll more than likely read them on air. And like I said, I've got a couple of questions that I scribbled down really quickly before doing the video. Today was kind of a hectic day, but I feel like things are settling down now. So this is about as much quiet time as I'm going to get for one of these. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'm going to read the comments live on air. First question that I got. Oh, and by the way, if I say anybody's name wrong, please correct me in the comments. I say that because my name was said wrong today. So just go ahead and correct me if I get your name or your pronouns wrong. Correct me, please. I don't want to be that butthead. So the first question comes from, and I hope I'm saying it right, HPDev-115 or HPDev-115. How did you get into Sailor Moon? Through my mom, actually. So, crazy story. We're going to go backwards in time a little bit. So for most people who were fans of Sailor Moon in the United States in the 90s, a lot of you, if you're old enough to remember, you might have seen it maybe September or October of 1995, either on a Fox affiliate station or on WB or maybe even UPN, depending on your region. And then for some of you who are into Toonami, maybe you got into Sailor Moon by watching Toonami somewhere between June of 97, and somewhere maybe 2000-ish. Oh, hang on a second, I got a question. Anastasia Bogus, do you know how I can make my own dolls? I want to make dolls and stuff for my YouTube channel. I would like to learn how to make some dolls. Okay, that's a long question, so let me come back to that. I'm going to scroll back when I finish this question to get to that one. So hang on to that one. That's a good one. That's a really super good one. So anyway, for most people, you either got into Sailor Moon 95 or 96-ish on syndicated stations, or you got into Sailor Moon through Toonami. Neither of those stories apply to me. April of 1995, and I have a long video about this on my channel, and I'm not digging the whole story up right now. But April of 1995, I had my 4th concussion in a row in under 6 months from school bullying. And after the 4th one, I just looked at my parents and was like, please homeschool me. I'm correcting the teacher. It's not like I'm even learning anything here. These A pluses don't mean anything. So after that last concussion, while we were getting the paperwork and fighting the state of New Jersey, because I lived in New Jersey for 2.5 years, don't recommend. And while we were trying to fight the state of New Jersey and go through paperwork and such, my mom really wanted me to be on a schedule still, because just because you're homeschooled doesn't mean you get to spend forever eating jelly beans and be in your PJs all day. You have to do work. And even though I was an A-plus student like Ami, I was more like Isagi. Yes, I'm good at studying, I just didn't wanna. So she really wanted me on a schedule. And she was looking at TV shows. Is there a TV show out there that would force me awake? We had a television station. We had a public domain TV station in New Jersey. It's long gone, so don't bother Googling it. I don't even remember the name of it. But we had a public access station in New Jersey. And I guess overnight, they didn't think anybody was paying attention to them. So between the hours of 2 in the morning to 6 in the morning, they would play a lot of fan subs and fan dubs of anime they didn't have the legal right to. Through that channel, I found Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon back to back, with Sailor Moon coming first. My mom watched Sailor Moon ahead of me. It came on at 6 o'clock in the morning on this station, and she loved it because she was like, hey, there's princesses, but there's magic powers and there's superhero stuff. It's not just a girl waiting to be saved. This is something that Corey would totally be into. The first episode I saw was the one where Isagi gets trapped in the elevator with Tuxedo Mask and they gotta climb their way out, and Nephrite has the lion with him, Leo the lion. They had a fan dub of this episode. None of the episodes were in order, but they had a fan dub on this channel of this episode. And I remember like groggily waking up, and I looked at Nephrite and Zoisite, and my first thought was, wow, that's a deep voice lady, and I passed out. And I kept trying to wake up for this episode, and I kept coming in and out. And this is not a very action-heavy episode, so it didn't hold me at first. So we tried again the following week. The following week, like I said, episodes are out of order. The station played the episode where Isagi's teacher is going to get married. And I stayed up for that episode, and that hooked me. I was just a fan for life at this point. This show just had everything. And that was April of 95. And then that September, my local WB station, not my Fox station, but my local WB station picked up Sailor Moon. And they ran it through the full 65 episode Deke package, except Day of Destiny and the one before it where they go to the moon and they meet Queen Serenity. They cut those 2 episodes completely out. So I had to get the VHS tape, Good Queen, Bad Queen, to see those episodes. But they played the rest of the Deke package. And I was just hooked for life at that point. I'm just permanently with Sailor Moon. So that's how I got into Sailor Moon, was through my mom. And then HPDev115 also asks, what was your first anime in general? Now we're going to take the crystal key from Pluto and go way back in time. I was born in 86, and I had the fortune of being born in the Chicagoland area. And our Chicago stations, we had TV 44 and Channel 50, they played a whole lot of anime. This is why I'm confused when people say, oh, there was no anime boom until Pokemon. Bullshit. Yeah, there was. There were several anime booms. We had one in the 60s. My mom is an anime fan too, and my mom grew up with Prince Planet, Speed Racer, and she saw a few episodes of Princess Knight. And then, of course, her main thing is Ultraman, and she also grew up with Mirror Man. So huge on anime and tokusatsu. She's more tokusatsu. So the first boom was in the 60s. The second boom was actually in the 80s. On our stations, we had Robotech, which my parents were uniquely addicted to until the story just got flat out weird and Lin Minmay would not shut up. It's so weird. Like, everybody in Japan loves Lin Minmay and they buy her CDs just for that character. In America, she had a totally different voice, and my mom was not a fan. But we had Robotech, and we had Voltron, which is Go Lion on Crunchyroll. Then we had Speed Racer, of course. I think that's like the default anime for a lot of people. And we did have a little Astro Boy, but not a lot. So thinking back, my first anime was likely Speed Racer, and then Robotech, and then Voltron, because that's how I would have seen it. So I would have seen Speed Racer first in the afternoon, and then the next morning after I came home from being born, that would have been Robotech and then Voltron. So Speed Racer, Robotech, and Voltron were my first 3 anime. So excellent question. Now getting back through the comments, Anastasia Bogus, and I hope I said your name right, asked a really good question. Do you know how I can make my own dolls? Oops, there we go. And stuff for my YouTube channel. I would like to learn how to make some dolls. Can you make a video about that? Excellent, excellent, excellent question. Also, multiple answers. So it depends on what kind of a doll you want to make. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to 3D print dolls. I would love to learn how to do that because I just started taking 3D printing classes at my local library. And then if you just wanted to customize a doll that was already made, like what I do sometimes, I'll go to the Goodwill and buy dolls that nobody wants. And then I will just repaint them and then sew brand new dresses for them. Shellywood, Chellly Wood. If you Google that name, you'll find a bunch of printable doll dress patterns and doll outfit patterns, and then you can just adapt them into making whatever outfit you want. Like, for example, if you take like a basic A-line dress pattern, and then you just continue to add fabric onto it, you could make a Princess Serenity dress. So there's lots of tutorials online for that. If you wanted to just sew a rag doll, there's a lot of easy tutorials for that as well. So I would suggest deciding what kind of a doll you want first, and then looking for tutorials specific to that doll. Because I could show you how I make some of my dolls, but some people say I don't stitch the right way. I kind of stitch my way, which is why I don't sell anything that I stitch. It's just for me. But yeah, think about the dolls you want to make and then go from there. And you know, that'll give you some idea. Let's see, we got another question here. Classic Dreamer, my question for you, since you seem to have some amiibos, I do. What was the hunting experience like for you? Lucky. So most of my amiibos used to come from my local GameStop store. It's empty now. It is going to be turned into something else. They shipped everything out to Valparaiso. They're not there anymore. They even took the sign. I used to just go to GameStop like the day of. So I would find out online, like within a 5-day time period, when a certain amiibo would be available for purchase. And I wouldn't go at midnight because that's insane. I would go the following day. And then I would just get my amiibos that way. A lot of times they would hide amiibos. They would hide them behind shelves and all over the store in crazy places. That's actually how I found Rosalina. I guess somebody at the store wanted to buy Rosalina, and I didn't know at the time that somebody was overbuying Rosalina and there was a shortage. So I just randomly found a Rosalina mixed in with the wrestling figures, and I just bought her at normal price. And I didn't even know about it until I got home, and my brother freaked out and showed me the video. I have a few amiibos I've bought used. There's another store in town called Game Changers. They occasionally sell amiibos. They sell them in like little red baggies. Sometimes I'll buy amiibos there, but I haven't seen any lately that match what I'm into. It's mostly games I don't play. But that's how I'd usually find my amiibos. There's two that I remember buying online. One was Diddy Kong, and one was Ryu from Street Fighter. I did buy those online just because at the time I was like hardcore into collecting them. Once I got those two though, and the price for amiibo started getting insane, I slowed down because I was like, okay, I've got a mazillion other hobbies, as you can see. So I need to budget better. I am planning on getting a couple of newer amiibos. I just want the price to make sense. But that's how I found my amiibos. I just went to GameStop. But my GameStop is gone now, so much for that. Next question on my list comes from Transformers 4866, I believe. I wrote this a bit fast, so I apologize if I got it wrong. What was the idea behind your Super Saiyan Chibiusa video? Oh wait, Classic Dreamer said something. What a lucky find there. I remember it took me about 6 months to get Rosalina since she was released in February 2015, so we just got a Japanese import. I'm tempted to get a Japanese import. The only thing Japanese amiibo related that I have are some of the Hello Kitty Animal Crossing cards, and I feel like I got gypped because I only got 3 Hello Kitty cards, and then the next week my GameStop had all of the Sanrio cards in one pack for $6.99, and I'm like, I should have just waited. It's the same card. But anywho, so Transformers 4866. What was the idea behind your Super Sailor Chibi Moon video. Simply put, I'm a Dragon Ball Z fan too. I know I don't have a lot of Dragon Ball Z stuff in my videos, like, for right now, I just have like a couple of the plushies, and you know, you don't really see like a lot of the figures at the moment. My mom's actually a bigger collector of Dragon Ball merchandise than I am, but that's really all it came to. I was looking through Blue Sky, and they changed their name. They used to be Sailor Fruit Bat on Twitter. Now they got a new name, so I don't remember their name anymore, but I follow them. They sometimes upload old Japanese magazines that were aimed at kids, but sometimes mixed in non-kid related stuff. And they had a couple of official Toei licensed images of Sailor Moon characters next to the Dragon Ball Z characters. Somewhere in my channel, you might find one that I actually put into a video where you see Mars and Mercury like cuddling up to Future Trunks. And then Mai is about to take a shotgun to them. And if you watch Dragon Ball Super, you understand the joke. So that was just the idea that I got from right there. I think there's always going to be crossover fans. You know, no, even if you have people who are like 100% shoujo anime, 100% nothing girly, you're still going to have fans that love both Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon. So that's all the idea boiled down to. I was just tooling about, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if Pegasus gave Chibiusa this power and she turns Super Saiyan? And that's all it boiled down to. It wasn't anything more deep than that. Let's see. Ami Jr. S3W. Is it tough making your animations? Depends. If I am spending more time on a video, and maybe it's a little longer, and they're a little more animated, the time, I think, is more tedious than anything else. My oldest Kousagi videos, like the one where she does a short transformation and like her hair actually moves, that one actually took me a couple of days, just because I was trying to mimic the same animation that we see in Sailor Moon S and Sailor Moon Super S, or Supers, I should say. But that was a little more time consuming because I actually took the time to animate her hair going in the wind. A lot of times though, I just like sort of copy and paste a lot of stuff and cross my fingers and hope it looks good. Classic Dreamer's got another question. What are your thoughts on Sailor Moon hidden Easter egg in Wii? It made me regret not getting Punch Out. And the funny thing was, going back to GameStop was not terribly expensive, but I went the first PokePark game instead, which I really like. I just haven't had any chance to. I got PokePark because I've been saving up for it, and I really loved Pokemon, and I still do. And I didn't think about it, and then like 2 years later, after Punch Out is long since history from GameStop, I saw a video at random on YouTube showing that they actually scanned part of the manga for Sailor Moon into this one scene for Punch Out. I thought that was hilarious. And when Sailor Moon Crystal came out, there's an episode where Usagi's actually reading one of Naoko Takeuchi's older manga before Sailor Moon, not Sailor Moon or Sailor V related at all. I gotta find my notes somewhere about it, but I thought that was just hilarious, and the first thing I thought of was the Punch Out game. So that was just really cool. I'm totally here for it. We're cheated out of more Sailor Moon games. I hate so much the sexism at a lot of these companies where they just don't make video games for magical girls. But I love anytime we can get something, just a little tiny Easter egg. Let's see. Tegan Rose, who is a huge fan of mine, and I hope is going to see the video at some point. She's big in my Codename Sailor Earth group on Facebook. She tends to find a lot of rare Sailor Moon videos, so I'm always looking forward to her posts. Tegan Rose says, she actually sent a few questions. The first was, what was your first ever Sailor Moon item? It's somewhere in this room. I need to really do some deep cleaning in here. But my first ever Sailor Moon item is a 6-inch Sailor Moon doll. I got Sailor Moon, Sailor Mercury, and Sailor Venus from KB Toys. I was about 10. I think it was right after my 10th birthday that we found them, and they were on clearance. And they sold them next to the Power Rangers figures. And at first I was going to go in there because I wanted to buy a putty figure. But my parents didn't want me to have the putty figure because it was the Lord Zed version. And the Lord Zed version comes disassembled. You got to put the sucker back together, and then just like on second season Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you just go, and the whole damn thing falls apart. And for some reason, the Power Ranger figures were only $5.99, but the putty was $10. And this is 1996, and Mighty Morphin is already out the door. We are knee deep into Zeo, about to head into Turbo. Nothing made sense with this putty, so I was absolutely not going to get the putty figure. But then I looked up, and it was like, here's some more clearance Power Ranger figures that you already have at home. Here's Sailor Moon. Well, Sailor Moon, winner, winner, chicken dinner. So that was my first Sailor Moon item, and she's here somewhere. I just got to find her, and then I'll make a new video. Oh, wow. Second question. Will you do a doll figure update video? Well, I kind of spoiled that one, so the answer is yes, Tegan. Eventually, I'll do update videos for a lot of my stuff. My old collection Earth panel has jank footage. I was using a Vivitar camera back in 2010. It was cheap, what can I say? I'm one of those folks that tries to hang on to technology for as long as possible, which is why I'm trying to figure out what to do about my old computer because it's not turning on. And I still really love my old computer, so I'm just trying to figure out how to fix it. It's slowed me down big time this year on sprucing up Moon Sisters. But yeah, I've looked at my old videos and updates in order. We've got better information now. I have more dolls, and just the quality. So it's on the same to-do list as the updated manga videos. That's just on hold until the color manga come. And wow, she must know me. Will we ever get the Sailor Moon color manga? Fingers crossed, I hope we do. I've got to see Kousagi in color. Ooh, Classic Dreamer, what do you think is the rarest Sailor Moon doll in your collection? Good question. I have a few that have become scarce on eBay. My Chartok Super Sailor Chibi Moon is one. All of my 17-inch Sailor Moon dolls, I very seldom see them on eBay, and I've got both the original set and the the Babyface set from Irwin. Let me think, what else might be rare? I have a custom Kousagi doll. There used to be more of them on eBay. There's kind of been a slowdown with the person who makes them. I think because they're working on other characters, because they do have like all the Sailor Moon characters. Let's see, other rare official dolls. I've got a few plushies of Moon, the Inners, Tuxedo Mask, and Chibiusa from 93. 92 and 93. Those are pretty rare now. What are some other rare ones? I've got a couple of Japanese dolls, but I have to look and see which ones are the least likely to appear on eBay or Mercari for a reasonable price. I have a Sailor Saturn doll. She's missing her boots and her staff, her glaive rather, but she's so amazingly expensive. I'd have to sit down and think about it, and think about which one might be the rarest of all. Cause oh, and I have a few 6-inch Queen Beryl dolls and a 7-inch one. And Beryl is not easy to find on eBay anymore in any size. So yeah, I'd have to take a look and see out of my plushies and out of my fashion dolls, which one. Oh, and you know, I've got an old Irwin Princess Serenity doll with the locket, the star locket, and the Moon Kingdom backdrop. She's pretty rare now too. I'm trying to get the pajama version where it's Isagi Serena in her PJs, but that one very seldom comes up. So I guess I'd have to think about it. Let's see. Carol asks, what was my very first fashion doll? Period. My first fashion doll, I'm trying to find the name of it. I've seen one on eBay once. It wasn't a dollar store doll per se, but it was like a knockoff doll. I loved her because she looked a little bit like my mom, and finding dolls that look like my mom are really rare. And then I had from Tomy, the ballerina doll. She was on a purple base. There's a video on YouTube of one, and you put the doll on the base, and she's supposed to do like this little pirouette. That's not how she works. She kind of goes like, and then her arms fly off. I'm so pissed off that I lost her in the flood when I was 12 because I loved playing with this doll every single day, and I want her back. And then there's another Dollar Tree doll that I had with orangey hair, and I literally played with her until she fell apart. I'm not looking to replace that one though, because she was made with this plastic that deteriorates really toxic, so that's just going to have to stay lost to time. And then I think my first Barbie doll might have been the Day to Night Barbie, because my mom had one too, and we had the same accessories. And my mom found the Day to Night play set where it's like an apartment on one side and you flip it around and she goes to work on the other. Lost those in the flood. And I miss that because that was like my first and only Barbie house. But I miss those. And I see you got another question here. Classic Dreamer. Sailor Saturn's probably the rarest Irwin of all. She's only ever released in Canada at KB Toys in 2001. Saturn and the last Super Sailor Moon doll from Irwin are the two rarest out of Irwin. Here in America, specialty stores occasionally had them, like comic book stores, and then you had to like mail order the doll. But that I would love to get that Super Sailor Moon doll and the 6-inch version of the Outers, because that would complete my 99 to 2000 Irwin collection. I also like eating, just like Usagi, so that's why I haven't really tried getting them. But those would be like, I guess, the ultimate rarest out of Irwin, outside of Usagi and her pajamas. At this point, I almost want to add Kaolinite and Professor Tomoe, but in Canada, they're not as rare as they were here. Canada got everything cool. Carol also asks, Bratz or Barbie? Barbie. I have one Bratz Kids doll. I am not really looking to add to that. There are some Bratz dolls that I like the outfits of. Just, I hate the lip liner. Some of the makeup I really don't like. It's not because I see like, oh, it's too sexual. They wear less makeup than Barbie. I really think a lot of people overreacted about these dolls in the early 2000s. Just the one thing that I couldn't connect with Bratz was when they came out with the commercials, the cartoon, and then the CGI TV show, was they struck me as a little bit vapid. Like career-wise, I think Chloe was into photography and everybody else was kind of into this little fashion magazine, but they only ran the magazine just to make more money to buy more stuff. And I tried really hard watching some of that media, and a lot of it was just vapid, and a lot of the girls just had first world problems, and I had a hard time relating to that. I think because I was spoiled. I mean, I had Sailor Moon, and those characters had faceted personalities, and a lot of the characters have career goals, and some of them achieve them. Like Haruka, for example, she's a race car driver, she's a concert pianist, and then in parallel Sailor Moon, she becomes a cooking teacher. And then there's Michiru. She's an art teacher, she becomes a music teacher, she's a concert violinist, and then she becomes a cooking teacher. And then like Ami wants to be a surgeon and a doctor, And like Makoto, she wants to, and she eventually does run her own business. She does a bakery and a floral shop in Parallel Sailor Moon. So I was just used to that much ambition. And the other show I was into as a girl was Tenko and the Guardians of the Magic. And there's tons of girl ambition in that one. Like Tenko is a magician and a superhero, and her best friend is a veterinarian for exotic animals. So going from that to the world ends if Yasmin breaks her nail, I couldn't connect. So I became more of a Barbie girl. Barbie had jobs. And right now, the diversity for Barbie is amazing. And not just because they have different skin and hair colors, they have different hair textures. Most Bratz dolls just have stick straight hair or wavy hair, and that's it. But Barbie, you can find hair like this, you can find afro, you can find braids, you can find all kinds of stuff in Barbie. Even the guy dolls now have little twists and such. I'm just a Barbie girl. Favorite Codename Sailor V villain? I kind of want to say Petite Pandora, just because her story was a little bit on the sillier side. And she and her sister both have just fabulous hair. You know, I hate that out of all the Sailor Moon characters with dark curly hair, Luna's the only non-villain out of the group. But I'll just take what I can get, I guess. And then Alice Liddell, she messages me. Wow, I haven't seen her in a while. She messaged a couple of varied questions. Beekman or Bill Nye? Both. I have a love of Beekman's World because that was the first of the two shows that I saw growing up, and he always made science extra fun and funny. And I actually got to talk to him on Cloverleaf Radio podcast many, many, many years ago, and he was super cool. And funny story, I had sent a letter in because every week they would read letters to Beekman. I sent my letter in because I wanted to know what diapers were made of because I was a new big sister at the time. And my dad refused to mail the letter. And then fast forward, I'm all grown up and I get to ask Beekman what her diaper's made of. And I tell him about the letter and he laughed and he's like, I'm kind of glad you didn't mail the letter because the answer I would have given you wouldn't have been right. I had wrong information back then. And then he actually told me the correct information of what diapers were made of, and the chemicals that they make diapers with now has since changed. But we had this lovely conversation about diapers, and I just thought that was so fun. Oh, hey, Ami Jr. Thanks for joining in. I answered your question earlier about is it tough to make short animations? It depends. The video that I made years ago where Koasagi's hair actually moves in the wind as she transforms, that took me a little bit longer because I was trying a little extra hard to mimic the old animation style. So I have some videos that are harder, and other videos I can just drag and drop pieces as I want. So it all depends on the video. Some are really easy to make, and some actually require me to sit down and think about what I'm doing. Alice also asks, favorite Care Bear or Care Bear cousin? I tend to collect a lot of Cheer Bear. I do have a lot of Cheer Bear stuff, I think just because I really love how Cheer Bear looks. I know my mom's into Grumpy Bear. That's like her number one. And actually my husband likes Grumpy Bear too. Favorite Care Bear cousin is definitely Braveheart Lion. I used to have a Braveheart Lion plush, and I'm so mad that I lost him. I really wish they would bring back the cousins, honestly, because I really liked Braveheart Lion. And then she asks, why do you have more Pegasus content than Pearl? So that is the end of my list there. That's a really great question. I have more shots of Pegasus that I can use in my videos than I do of Pearl or Peru, whichever you want, because they're both accurate. I feel like Peru just didn't get enough time. It's kind of a shame, really, because I really like him. But I just have more content to work with Pegasus. Helios in his human form and Pearl, I wish we had more official images of, because there's just not a lot. Have you watched Ranma 1/2? Yeah. So this is kind of a growing up sort of thing. When I was a tween, I was huge on Ranma. I collected the manga, and I would rent the videotapes at Hollywood Video, and I really loved Ranma, and I thought it was hysterically funny. As an adult, I find Ranma to be very problematic. I don't like the episodes where Ranma gets abused by Akane just for the sake of her having a bad attitude. I don't like the rampant sexism on both the male and the female side. I don't like the fact that there's no character that understands boundaries. Like the concept of, no, I have someone, or no, I'm not interested, doesn't affect anybody. The characters kind of go to extremes, trying to get either Ranma or Akane. And that's really not comfortable. And it's the same reason why I don't watch Urusei Yatsura anymore. I used to read that manga because my mom used to have some of the graphic novels lying around the house when that was new. And again, the characters don't respect each other's boundaries, and sometimes Lum just attacks Ateru and there's no jumping point. I don't mind slapstick in anime or in cartoons as long as there's a jumping point. You know, like, for example, I'm a big Bugs Bunny fan. Bugs Bunny always has a jumping point, except for the really racist cartoons, but that's another story. So, like, Bugs Bunny's minding his own business. Here comes Elmer Fudd. I'm gonna shoot a wascally wabbit. And then he, like, shoots up his room for no reason. Well, now there's jumping point. Now Bugs Bunny's got a reason to be mean to Elmer Fudd. There's no jumping point. I've actually outgrown a lot of Rumiko Takahashi's work. I used to be big on Inuyasha. I think you all know how I feel about Yashahime. Just the fact that the characters are overtly hot-headed with each other. I don't really get into that. And the lack of boundaries and some of the more sexually weird stuff involving the minors, I really don't want to watch that. So I used to be a fan of this stuff when I was a tween. As an adult, I stay far away from it. But I think I'm going to call it a day about here because my dinner's ready. So I'm going to shut the video off and go have some dinner. And thank you folks so much. If you think of any other questions, go ahead and send them my way. Maybe I'll do another one before Christmas or after Christmas. I'll decide that. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And last minute hello to Shadow Realm Gauntlets 9336. And I'll see you.